and it's welcome as chair of the South African TA Association. I'd like to welcome you to the webinar. And particularly Nevenka, we've been friends for a while and colleagues, and every time we meet online, you always want to look and see what South Africa looks like outside of my window. So we're delighted that you're involved even more with the South African TA Association. And over to you. We look forward to exploring with you in your topic called the Happy Educator. So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Karen. Yes, I'm now a little bit more in South Africa, which makes me happy, happier educator, because I really love the country. But I'm sitting now in Germany in my living room, and I have been living in Karlsruhe, and Karlsruhe is the city where you are also a little bit connected to with Contract, isn't it, Karen?
I was involved with Contract for a while. So there
yes, was okay. So in the south of Germany, and I'm a PTSTA in the field of education, and I work mostly in my company and train coaches. And I have been doing this since many years. And I would like today to explore with you, why is it important to be a happy professional? It's a little bit provocative title, but I think this is kind of our tool and a real obligation to take care of us, that we feel fine. Otherwise, if we are not able to do our job properly. This is my thesis, and I would like to explore this. And I would like to explore with you some theoretical background and some experiential part I would like to have, if it's okay with you guys. Okay? And yes, sure. Okay, good. And first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself a little bit. Who has got the dog and who has got the cat, and why this, or something else? Or maybe where do you use TA, and how come you're here with us? Maybe this. And I don't know the way how to do this. Karen, I'm very happy that you're going to help me. I don't know how to do it. I just ask a question and wait till people answer. Okay, so please, would you introduce yourself and say this? Why are you here? How come you're here with us? And how do you use TA?
Hello everyone, I'm Alex. I am the Vice Chair of SATAA, and I use TA as a coach and a coach supervisor. I find it very useful to make sense of what's going on between myself and my client, as well as for clients to use as a tool to make sense of their own world.
Okay.
And I've got 3 dogs.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Beatrice, and I'm an educator in higher education here in Zwolle. I use the 3-dimensional contract that Nevenka, that you explain in the book of Educational TA quite a lot. And I've been explaining it in a group of students with Frauke and some others. And then we got the message that you would be here. So that's the reason to be here. I'm very pleased with the subject, the Happy Educator. I have a very good job, but also some tension about the courses that I give. I'm a drama teacher, and this is quite difficult in higher education if it is necessary to teach people drama or not. So that sometimes constrains my happiness. So I'm very delighted to talk about this subject. And I have 3 children, which 2 of them are here, but about to go to the store to do some grocery shopping for me.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew. I'm a coach and a coach supervisor, and now and then a coach mentor on coach training that Karen presents. I found that TA has been a really valuable, powerful, transformational tool for my own journey, and also then using it as a lens and when I'm using wearing those different hats, whether it's just a way of crafting my own way of thinking and asking certain questions with my clients, or at times explicitly sharing a model with them. So reason for being here is I'm also the secretary of SATAA, and I love getting to connect with people around the world, new topics, new faces, and I'm really excited because I've missed the past couple of webinars, unfortunately, so I'm really excited to be back in this space again. I have no children, have no pets, unfortunately. I'm coming to you from my mother's house after a very long night of youngest child duties. So,
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm Frauke, also from the Netherlands, and working together with Beatrice on the same in the same school. I'm teaching TA to students, 4th year social work students, and I learn them the basics of TA. That's what I am doing with TA. And I was very interested in the topic of you, Nevenka, how to link education to TA. And well, I'm interested in that. I have 3 children and a lovebird. Do you know that little lovebird? An agapornis. Do you know what agapornis? Yes? No. It's a little, how do you say a papegaai? Carrot? No.
Papegaai, I know in German.
Parrot.
Parrot.
Parrot, yeah, that's it.
Parrots eat carrots.
Mm-hmm.
Carrots you can eat, but this is a parrot, yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Dave. I'm a student of TA, and I'm a police officer, and I've recently taken a job where I'm actually training other senior police officers on leadership. I'm particularly interested in organisational TA, so I use it at work and I use it as a coach. But I'm also interested, the reason I'm here today is I've not had much experience of educational TA, so I'm interested to learn about that. And I'm also interested in all the different associations around the world and the different communities and what they bring that's different to my learning in the UK. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dave. Mm-hmm.
Sharon, you were going to go next.
Yeah, okay. I'm Sharon. I've been involved with TA for most of my adult life, and I do a lot of TA training, and I certainly work with it sometimes as a coach. and I'm very interested to hear what you've got to teach us today. So yes, I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Okay.
I'm Sharon. I'm a TSTA in the educational field. Similar to Andrew and Alex, I use TA as a coach and a coach supervisor. And I also have a few TA training groups, mostly now blended online between South Africa, different cities in South Africa, and India. And very happy to explore this topic with you, Nevenka, having read the chapter in your book, but to be really live and working with it is great.
Okay, thank you very much. I have to see you're very experienced TA people, so I have to somehow to stand differently, because I looked up, I have to say, some webinars before, and there were people, many times people who are just working a little bit with TA. So I thought, okay, this is something for the beginners. Now I have to change my my ideas about this webinar, and let's see how are we going to proceed. So I would like to start with this, with the title, The Happy Educator. And I would like to remind you that most of us spend, I have to see once again, I think approximately 30,000 classes, school classes of education. If we are doing TA, so we are not students in the beginning, but we have gone throughout the education and spent thousands and thousands of hours in the education. And the thing is that in Germany, there is a big discussion that the educators tell, okay, we are not the therapist. The education people get the role of, which sometimes maybe therapists had, to help children and young people and or other people to develop and to also to heal something which they didn't get proper till now. And the teachers say, okay, but we are not therapists. But definitely they are not therapists, but definitely in this 30,000 of hours, there is enough space to do a lot of good and to help people develop in the way they couldn't have done at home and in their private lives. So there is a lot of script work which we are doing in the educational process. Call it like this or don't call it like this. And we are definitely not doing it explicitly, but we are teaching people drama or teaching geography of former Soviet Union or whatever. And in the same time, we are offering possibilities for development, hopefully. Or we are also ruining people. I don't know how to say this, because everybody has seen at least or had some very bad experiences in school. It is not just that this was the place for blossoming for 30,000 hours, but it had many also shade and not so good moments in the education. And I would like to explore this if you are interested in. Okay? So that's nice, Andrew, to give some signs, because it is a strange medium for me. Okay, however, let's continue this. So I would like to ask you first to go into two into 3 groups, and I would like to ask Karen to organize this, and I will also ask Karen, what does she think about the length? I thought about 10 minutes to talk about, first, I'm sorry to send you to this topic, but to talk about how was it to be a student of an unhappy educator? You must have had in these 30,000 of hours bad moments where you didn't learn what you were supposed to do, or where you had some kind of humiliation, I don't know, whatever. Think of those moments, and think about how was it to be a student in this situation, and what did you miss? And what were the consequences of this regarding you and regarding the goal? You were supposed to learn something, but I'm thinking about many people with whom I talked about this, who said that they spent hours and years not learning what they are supposed to do in the school. I don't know, we are in so different countries, maybe you had the better schools, but in Germany it's like this. And somehow where no connection is happening and things are not going at its best. So I would like to ask you to think about these moments. How was it to be a student of an unhappy educator for 10 minutes and to come back so that we collect how was this and what consequences did it have and what did you miss in this time? And now, Karen, 10 minutes, is it okay for such a webinar practice?
10 minutes is good. If people come back and they want to have more time, you can always renegotiate. Or we will use the time, if it's 10 minutes, we will do what we need to do in 10 minutes. I'm going to divide you into pairs. And if you're up to it, I'm going to join the liberty of joining one of the rooms. I'd also like to participate in the learning, even though I'm the administrator as well. We're an uneven number, so I'm going to join one of the groups of 2. Nevenka, you'll be in a room on your own. Okay. And then after 10 minutes, I will stop the rooms. You're going to get a sign saying accept the invitation to a room. If you click that, you'll find yourself in your room. And then you'll get 60 seconds flagging up that your room will close. So say what you've got to say in those last 60 seconds.
Hello. Are we complete?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So, thank you. What did you experience? I'm curious to hear. Could you find some moments and what did you miss? I would like just to remind you that it's being recorded. So if you are talking about yourself, keep this in mind. But still, I would like to hear something. What did you miss during such education?
Something that I was, when I was sharing with Beatrice, that I had a teacher that was just a horrible person to be around, and then through different processes in the school, she was asked to leave, and then was replaced by somebody who was lovely, and having that stark contrast of experiencing just not wanting to be there to going to loving being there and wanting to go into school every day. So that's something that was definitely significant about, that was missing before, you know, that love, that want to be there, that drive.
On something more, if you think of those days. So one was, how would you describe the feeling when you were going there to this teacher who was behaving to the first one?
It was fear.
Fear.
Yeah. Yeah, just fear. And the class at that stage was quite big, so choosing a seat to kind of blend into the big group, wanting to make myself as small as possible. Yeah.
Okay. So it was, and just to know, how long did it last?
I was saying to Beatrice that I couldn't remember the timeline, but I know that it wasn't long enough that the school didn't feel like they couldn't interrupt her time there. So it was a very quick turnaround. You know, within a week she was gone of raising the concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. You are lucky. Okay, thank you. And others? Thank you, Andrew.
My experience was that I became quite rebellious towards the teacher. I think a lot of the children did. The feeling I experienced going to those classes was anxiety. And it wasn't fear so much as like an act of pushing back. I think that's probably associated with the rebelliousness.
Okay. So you actually, you developed a kind of social skills also there.
I don't know if it was a very useful skill.
Okay.
So what I discussed in my pair with Frank was symbiosis, and I think that I didn't play or I just got hooked into the symbiosis in an unhealthy way by being rebellious, not necessarily expressing my needs or letting the teacher know what I was and was not okay with, which I think would have been a more useful social skill.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. And more? Somebody else?
Yeah, I can go next if you like. Sorry. My experience was with a teacher who was quite domineering in her style, and I had this teacher for 2 years, and I remember one experience where she humiliated me in class because I didn't know the answer to a question, and she just pushed and pushed and pushed, and it was quite clear to her and everybody that I just didn't know the answer, and I found that really embarrassing, and I think my response to that, I think, was similar to Alex's, really, in that it wasn't necessarily fear or anxiety, it was more a rebellious response, but because I was quite a shy and quiet child, it was more of a passive rebellious. So I just switched off. I didn't do the work. I didn't used to do my homework, and just sat through the lessons because I had to be there, and didn't really participate and didn't really get the learning as a result. So I wasted an awful lot of hours because it was probably 3 or 4 lessons a week for 2 years that I just probably got 30% of the value from that I should have done. So that was me, really.
This is very interesting what you say, because this is also for me I have had many clients and people who were talking about this, that of the spent hours and months sitting there, not learning, being in some kind of own space, and being extremely sorry afterwards that they didn't do this, what they could have done at school and should have done at school, and changed in some other way also. It didn't. I would like to ask you, how did you feel those days regarding your self-esteem? How did you feel?
It felt relatively, I don't think it affected my self-esteem massively, because I think my defense mechanism was to adopt a very I'm okay, you're not position, and that was the rebellious bit in me, the coping strategy. So I think it's more looking back the missed opportunity and the wasted time for me, rather than the self-esteem type thing. And I think if I'd valued her more as a teacher, then I think it would have affected my self-esteem more than it did. But I think my defence was quite I don't know. I mean, I've got quite a sort of prevalent be strong now, and I wonder if that might have contributed towards it. That type of thing. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. Somebody else?
Yeah, I'd like to follow on from that, because you asked about self-esteem. And for me, the fact that I had a really bad teacher very much affected my ability to do the subject. And so I was left with the feeling of, I can't do this. So I took it on myself instead of, pushing it back onto the teacher.
Okay.
So that was very negative for me.
Yes, this has also maybe something also with the life position. How do we manage this this situation? Either push the teacher back or push us, push on me. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Sharon. Okay, and others, you don't have, everybody doesn't have to go, so I would just like to hear from people who want to share. Okay, thank you.
I'll share briefly. It was interesting for me. It was easier for me to remember good teachers that I really enjoyed and engaged with, and I could still see them in my mind's eye and remember their names. But the particular teacher that I had a bad experience with, I can't remember her name, and I actually don't even have a visual in my memory of her. So that was interesting for me, the difference.
This is nice to hear, because this I have also heard many times that people try and really successfully forget these situations, that they know there was something there, but the details they forget. This is also the way of coping with the situation. It must have, I can imagine it was its best way to deal with this.
I can still remember how I felt, so I can remember my experience, but
yes,
I don't remember. So in sense of there's no connection anymore. I can't even picture. I know it was a woman, but I can't remember more than that.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, Frau.
I have to go to the toilet and I'll be back soon. I'm sorry.
Okay. See you. So good. Okay, I would like to go forward, except if somebody wants to say more. Good. These were definitely we remember the situations where something was missing, lacking, and so on. And as Karen said, there were definitely moments. Not just, first of all, there are moments where we loved to go, like also Andrew's Andrew said, loved to go to school, and we got something there. Why did we like to go there? And there were obviously, definitely other kids and friends who were there, but there were also important teachers who were a source of something. And I am thinking about and also looking at this point, how much can we get things like, I just have this quote from Giles Barrow, that in the education, the good education gives us, wait a sec, I would like just to find this good educator, just a sec, I would like to share my screen with you, Bildschirm. Okay, and can you see this? Okay, with all this good educator, the good education help us to get what we didn't get on previous occasions, or more of what we already have. And this is now the thing I would like to talk about. People, especially also in the TA education, which is a special kind of education, but you are all trained in TA. But can it be that in this education or in other educations, you got more of this what you had, and you got also what you didn't have on previous occasions? I just want to talk about me just for a second. And I remember I always loved teachers, if I look into my history, who were actually, I would now say, working with my driver, Be Strong. And because this was my home, let's say home surrounding, was I had to be strong. And all these teachers who taught me different were my favorite teachers. And I could use them. They taught me, for example, to name my feelings. They taught me that I don't have to be strong, and so on. So if I look at my history of my education, I always had teachers whom I used to develop as a person. And I would like to ask you, first of all, do you understand my point? That in the education, we can also develop on this personal level. This would be the first question. And if you give this sign that this is something what you know of what I'm talking about, I would like to put you again into the pairs, and maybe in the same pairs from before, and to let you think where was your script challenged and developed in your education. For example, I would like to give you just very small ideas. Your drivers, for example. Where did the educators work with this? In the TA education or earlier educations? Or injunctions? For example, I have in Germany, there is a sometimes strong gender issue that the girls are not supposed to do science well and to think and so on. So many of them this is a big issue. How do the teacher deal with all these issues of talents, of possibilities, and of drivers and injunctions? And I would like to ask you to go into the same pairs and to think about this aspect. Where did you change? Did you ever change, kind of change your script in the frame of education? And what did you change? And to look at your history, okay? Is it okay for everybody? I would like to see the signs. Okay, I see, okay, thank you. Okay, Karen, can you do the same for 10 minutes?
10 minutes, okay. Sure, here you go.
Hey guys, nice to see you back. You returned, that's very important. Okay, so do you want to share something?
Well,
yes.
I noticed that my changing was more recently during the TA trainings.
Okay.
Where my trainers challenged me to deal with my injunctions or to do something with that, different with that. And I took that challenge, so that helped me. But it was very helpful for me to feel a safe environment.
Okay.
Where I could experiment.
Okay. So security, we are going to talk later on about this.
Okay.
Change and security is a combination which we need actually to change. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. And more?
I found it interesting that going into the exercise now, I completely discounted thinking about my current learning experiences. So I was forcing myself to think of young school days, and then hearing Beatrice share hers, it encouraged me to think of, oh my goodness, I mean, I'm continuously on a learning journey and engaging in different playgrounds. I mean, and it was quite an interesting connection that perhaps I was thinking that learning must be difficult for it to be learning. But how I experience all of my current learning environments, it's not difficult. It's challenging, yes, but in a positive way, and I'm self-motivated to be there. So it was a sort of a lovely realization that one of my strong drivers is be perfect, and yet the learning environments always have an experiential part, and there's that enough safety and permission to play and get it wrong, to learn from that.
Okay, great. It's interesting. It's interesting to realize that people, many times people think of learning and education, they think of school, but we are all in the continuous education where, for my opinion, many people say they did a bigger job in this development, script development stuff in the education than in therapy. So it's important to see how, where is the playground, as you said, to develop. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I had some difficulties looking back at my early education and because I could feel such a disappointment in what I gained there. but I was very happy to think about my education right now because I have two very different educators. Mm-hmm. And the gratitude that I can feel being a student with two totally different people, and the way it really helps me to deal with some drivers and some injunctions in different ways. It was very good to share that with Andrew, and to feel like almost in my body I could feel like, oh, this, I didn't realize that it was such an important thing for me to have the difference between them that is doing me good.
Okay. So what I understand with you is also that two different teachers open up a space for you to somehow to develop.
Yes.
You have two different models, you can choose, you can combine, you can be more of yourself.
Yes, I can.
Is it like this?
Yes, I can more explore who I am between the differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
They make a kind of a frame, and this is also interesting. Also, this frame which is given by the model, and the title of why the educator has to be happy, because he's also framing the possibilities. And if the possibilities are very narrow, where are we going to expand and to develop? And what you said is even two of them, they can frame even more, give a frame for an even better or bigger development, so that you can explore what is yours.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Beatrice. Mm-hmm. Once more?
I can go now. I think it feels to me like I'm currently on that journey right now. And the reason I say that is that all through my school life, I was quite intelligent, never used to work particularly hard, and was always successful with exams and could pass them quite easily. And it wasn't until I got into more advanced qualifications that I really did badly. And I did badly because I didn't do the work. And it doesn't matter how naturally bright you are, if you don't do the work, you're not going to do very well. But for the job that I do now, I don't need formal qualifications, so I've never bothered since. And it's only now I'm going through the TA journey, and my primary drivers are very strongly try hard and be strong, that it really doesn't come naturally to me. So as I'm starting to work towards the portfolios for my qualification, and there's a lot of work involved, and I'm not getting it right first time, and I'm having to look at myself, and it doesn't come naturally to be strong to do all the TA application and look at myself, that I'm starting to question whether it's worth doing the qualification, whether I need to do it, all of those sort of things. And of course, TA is making me realise that this is about me. It's not about the qualification. It's not about the work. Actually, it's about me and my attitude towards it and my approach to it and my drivers. And I feel like I'm going through that dilemma now. So I'm going to persevere, and I will do the portfolios, but it really isn't coming naturally to me at all. It's something I'm finding difficult to motivate myself to do.
Okay, so did I get it correct that you are in some part of the world where you haven't been, where you have to face yourself and you have to question yourself and maybe find yourself in another way as you thought? Is it like this somehow?
Yeah, that's summarised it really well. In that I took quite a simplistic view of TA. I've been studying it for about a year now, and okay. I've learned the concepts and I understand them, but and I've observed them in other people, and I do that, I think, fairly well. The bit that I'm on the voyage of discovery is that actually it's about me as well, and I really need to do that.
You realize you have a mirror somewhere to look at also and to discover it there. Okay.
And that's where the Be Strong driver kicks in, and that's why I say I'm on that journey. It feels like I'm reluctantly being dragged along rather than embracing it, but I'm getting there.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. More? Nope. Is it okay? Can we continue? Alex, can we continue? Okay, Alex, thank you. Okay, so
I didn't realize I had such power.
But Alex, look, everybody else did this. So don't do this. I'm going always to name you. Okay, but we lost Sharon. Bye-bye, Sharon. Okay, such is life. You lose people. Or I can't
see her on the call. I still see her
Sharon's
on the
here still.
Ah, okay, she's still there. Okay. Ah, hello, Sharon. Okay, good. Okay, so I would like to continue and to see that we realize in this exercise that there are contexts where we can develop, and there are also people who help us and who create also this context together with us in this educational context. And one can also see, just to wait, I don't want to play now with my PowerPoint, I want to see this. What is very important for this educator is that they are in contact with us and that they are offering a safety on various ways. How do they manage that we feel safe, and that they are loving and humorous, and that they are good role models, and so on and so on. What is also very important is for us to see them, how they solve conflicts and how do they solve their inner conflicts and conflicts with other people and so on. And this is the situation where we can look in the mirror or whatever and see ourselves and also develop ourselves. First realize also what are our, let's say, drivers and injunctions, and do something about this. This is one thing. And at the same time, we know that the field of education is very stressful. And when I talk to my colleagues who are doing therapy, we realize that how stressful the field of education is, contrary to the small therapeutic room, which has definitely it's their own world with another kind of challenges. But let's look for a moment to this challenge of education. I would like to share my screen for a sec and to show this and share and this. Is it okay? And to think, why is it stressing? And I want to remind us that, first of all, education has always a huge number of actors and factors. There are in every education, there are not just people who are sitting inside, but there are organizers, ministries, EATA, IDTA, whoever. There are so many people who are influencing this education, who are playing a role. For example, TA associations in every are also sitting in every TA course. Don't forget this. And the second thing is education is always in public. So there are many people, there are sometimes 500 people who are there when we are educator and we are dealing with the education. So we are always in public, and we know that, for example, the stress level is really becoming higher when we are in public than when we are in the small room with one person. Then we have also to think that the context of education is not changeable. You cannot, for example, if you're working in school, you cannot say, oh, I'm not going to give any marks. I don't like marks and marking. I'm going to change this or whatever. Or I am not going to work for 1 hour. I would like to work for 2 hours. It would be more useful. So you are in a very strict context. And not to forget this, that you are not, people are not there by their free will most of the time. In many educational contexts, they are forced simply to school. You have to go if you want or not. But you have to also go at this particular day, even later on. And the third thing is also, even if you, for example, if I think of my coaching curriculum where we are working, okay, people are of their own will, but they have also to deal with different educators. Do they like them or not? This is different, for example, than the therapist. Therapist, you can always, most of the time, choose, except if you're in the psychiatric institution or something like this, but usually you can choose a lot. And always, and there is another, the last step which I want to mention, there is one educator in a big group. So many eyes are looking, and many people are understanding the things on their own way. He or she cannot intervene with everybody on its own, but he or she is always with the group, and usually just one. Or which we heard, there are two. If there are two, it's already something different. So this kind of a context is already quite stressing, not to talk about other stuff. For example, I just want to give this example. If we are, for example, working in enterprises and companies, where every time where we go, it's a kind of exam. You're always in a kind of an exam situation as a trainer when you work in the companies, because if you don't perform well, it can be that your job is over and so on. So, and this is connected with your own existence and with your own money and the money of your family. So you are in a quite the position, you can be in position of the stress. And on the other hand, you have to be very present and loving and interacting and seeing every client and so on. So you are in a kind of let's say of a very, you have to have the balance between the possible stress and what you have to offer in relationships, because education is always a relationship job. And there it can be that relational needs come up, the issue of relational needs. You know, Erskine and Trautmann described relational needs, and they have 8 relational needs described as needs which they're a component of every relationship, and they come up they described it on the basis of therapy, but they come up in every relationship. And these needs which we have within the relationship help us organize the relationship the way how we need it, in this moment. Do you know this Erskine's and Trautmann's relational needs model? You read it? Have you read? No? Doesn't matter. I'm going to some. Yes, thank you, Sharon. Okay, I would like to give you this reference, Erskine and Trautmann relational need. You can see it in the described in the on the basis of therapy work. And I would like to show you this relational needs which I try to describe in the field of education. And what we see here is that down below you see security, safety. There is a need to be safe. Andrew was talking about this teacher of him where he said he was feeling I forgot fear, not fear. What did you say, Andrew? You said, I forgot it in English. How you said?
I said fear.
Fear. Okay. So it's fear is the opposite, let's say, of security. And the others were talking about, Frank was also talking about feeling safe, to be able to look, to be able to develop, to be able to experiment, and so on. So there is always the need for safety in the education. And this need for safety goes to three different directions. You have to feel safe regarding the educator, and you have to, as a student, and also to the group and to the context. So everything has to be, you have this need. And there are also three different other axes, which I named like this. There is definitely affection, impact, and similarity difference. And the affection is that actually all the students have something on this axis. They have the need to be appreciated, validated, affirmed, accepted. This is one thing. And people also have, and students, this is also very interesting, and for me it was new to realize how much they have the need to appreciate the others and to express the gratitude and love. Many students really have a very big urge to like the teacher, to educator, and to be grateful, and so on. So there is this axis where we can move. And then there is this axis of the impact, that students have this, that they have the need also to have an impact on the educational situation, and they have also the need to get an impact, that somebody initiates something, tells him something interesting, change him, influence him. This is also something, if I'm not touched there, why go to the education at all? And also there is some kind, always a similarity difference axis, where we always need similarity to the other people and the trainer, and we need the difference. it is you can see it in the training where people, for example, similarity. Look, where are we the same? Do we live in the same city? Did we visit the same university? Do we wear the same shoes? Whatever it is, people are extremely happy if they come from the same country. Whatever it is, this being same connects. And if you come to a company where there is no sameness, it's a challenging thing. If you come as a woman to a group of men, and you come as I don't know, let's say as an artist, and they're all technicians and so on. So you have to make, it's an interesting thing. You have to make very big bridges. So there is similarity, but it is always also very important to be different also than others. People define themselves also through the difference, not just through similarity. So these are needs which come up and which help us organize our relationship. This is for the students, but this is also the same for the educators. The educator, when he or she goes into the education class, especially in the situation of a stress in which we are frequently, has a bunch of needs which she or he has to manage. Also relational needs. So this is something where I would like to stop and to ask you, how do you react to this? What's going on in your head or body? Is it interesting, or how do you react?
Yeah, hi, Nevenka. I find it very interesting. I have used this in a portfolio which I was writing for the past weeks. Also because I visited Erskine here in Holland, and it's such an important notice that there's so much power in the relationship that I have with my students. So it made me so much more aware of the way that I act as a teacher in this relationship, and how important it is to be safe and firm at the same time. And it gives me words to explore with my students when situations are getting sometimes there's more tension between me and my class. And I find this access that you have made helpful to explore where the tension is. So on which level, on which of the relational needs can I work on to have an impact on the group and build on the security. So I really like that it's that in the relationship, that's where we build the security for students, and with that, the learning environment. I really like it.
Okay, I would like just to ask you something, Beatrice, and
Yes.
This is also, how about your relational needs? When you go to the class, is there something where can you feel this, let's say, this music in you that sometimes you need more appreciation and acceptance, and some other time you are, let's say, on the impact axis more active? Can you is it helpful for you in some way?
Yeah, definitely in the affection. So I can be very I can be very honest and almost vulnerable about how I also need my students to appreciate me and to to talk about how we can enlarge that affection between us. So I really count for that.
Okay. So affection is something, this axis is interesting for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. So, yes. And the others, how do you react to this axis and this notion?
I was recalling when I first engaged in my coach training, there was somebody in the group that was significantly different from me, and there was a bit of a shock to my system, and my instinct was to want to not work with them, and luckily this realization happened on day one, and I had another 2 days to work with it, and after day one I thought, no, this whole engagement of becoming a coach is to challenge myself, and I thought, no, I want to go out of my way and work with that person. And by the end of the coach training, we became really good friends, and I had only admiration for everything that she had done, and still does. So it was quite an interesting experience to notice that there was somebody that was different. The knee-jerk reaction was to get away from, but now building on that experience, I love meeting people that are different from me, and looking forward to working with them to learn new things.
Okay, maybe I'm just asking, maybe we can link this idea, for example, similarity, difference. We can link it also to the level of security, but it can be, this is how I write in this article, that we feel insecure every time when one of our relational needs is not satisfied. We fall down on this basis of security, insecurity. So what you describe, I'm asking, is it correct? What you describe is you saw somebody who was very different, and maybe, so you said, oh, I don't want to work with her. Maybe it was also connected with some kind of insecurity, and you went through this, and now it becomes more kind of a challenge. Okay, I want to work also with people who are different, and you don't feel so insecure. Is it like this?
Very much so. And I think that one of the key things that made that possible was the context that we were together. So we were both engaged in coach training, and the day one was all about contracting and setting up our playground. So it was a safe place. There was confidence in that we'd both developed that level of security together in a greater group, so that there was still enough security that when I felt insecure on the differences interpersonally, still felt secure enough to challenge, to step up to the challenge.
Okay, great. Thank you. And more?
Well, I realize I organize the impact and the affection part by asking for strokes.
Okay.
By asking, what do you take with you, or what was meaningful for you in this lesson you've had with me? So that's a thing that's quite important to me, and I check what they've picked up. And about the similarity and difference, well, my thinking was about linking it to transference. I don't know if you do recognize that, because when I'm looking for similarity, I'm looking for where can I project my own things on the other?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then it's a challenge to look also to the differences. Well, that's my thinking till now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what I heard is you are managing, you are aware about your relational needs.
Yes, I am.
You have also some, let's say, some techniques or systems how to deal with this, how to get it. Okay. We are going also to talk about this later, which is really, for me, it's very important also when I work in the supervision of trainers, is to develop with them ethically okay ways to get your needs satisfied. Because for me, it is an illusion to have the idea that trainers don't have needs. So it is how will I get them satisfied in a good way? This is very interesting. And you said, okay, asking for strokes, for example, is one of the methods.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I'm looking forward to the methods.
Okay, good. And more comments? So, the others have no thoughts, no comments? I would like to hear some more, if possible, about relational needs. How do you see this? This is with the educator, but I would also like to see this can be, of course, expanded also to coaches. It is not just that the educators have relational needs. What do you, maybe Alex or Karen, who are working also with coaches, do you have this topic also in the coaching process? Can you use it for something?
So let me come in and add a piece. And I wasn't thinking of a coaching context, but I was thinking of a TA training group between cultures.
Okay.
And there's something, so there's difference because we have a different culture. There's similarity because we studying, exploring TA together. But the part that I notice is maybe in the impact that if one culture is quite co-creative, saying, I have an impact on you and you have an impact on me, but the other culture sometimes is still quite hierarchical in the trainer has an impact on the students, but the students don't have an impact on the trainer. It becomes quite an interesting, almost a dilemma for me, in that I'm invited to be the expert. And that's not a place that's comfortable for me, but yet I can understand the culture from which it is coming. It's the usual thing. So a tangible example is also in the logo that the group has chosen to use on a WhatsApp group carries my initials. And I looked at that and felt uncomfortable. And I've just recently suggested that I would love it to be the radical imago of learning, because that feels more in alignment with me. So I guess, I don't know, does it take it to the affection? How can I appreciate somebody when they're thinking differently about the impact being only one way and not both ways? That's the question I'm asking myself at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I can also personally relate to this. I remember maybe also coming from a hierarchical country, which is from Balkan, where I come from Serbia. It's quite a hierarchical country. So I remember many discussions with my therapist, where I tried to persuade him that he is doing therapy and with me, and he's trying to persuade me that I'm doing the therapy. This is so, who is having impact and who has the power and so on. So this is a very, and I remember, so I can, maybe this is also some kind of interesting to understand your Indian colleagues there. For me, it was not possible to imagine this co-creational stuff, you know. It is, my frame of references is so clearly hierarchical, so that no chance. So it is, in the end, you have really a fight on this level. So it's interesting really to see, and I can understand that I can smile of this, because I don't see I can't see that it is very easy to resolve this, but it's interesting. Okay, so I think this is what I would like to ask you, just to go again for a shorter while in pairs, and to think about your own relational needs, with which you are going into the trainings. When you are having trainings, what is for you mostly connected with your feeling of safety and security? Is this the question? Is this the axis of affection? Or are you interested on impact? Do you organize yourself maybe regarding similarity and the difference? Choosing just clients who are in a special way. How do you manage this? We don't have to, let's say again, maybe 10 minutes, but I would like you to dive in this and to ask yourself and help you understand, two of you always, how do you do this and connect this with the safety, with feeling safe? And I would also like for a moment to remember, how does it feel when you're safe? And how does it feel when you don't feel safe as a trainer? Okay, so two things. Think of this, please. How does it feel to feel safe? How is it body organized when you feel safe in the education? And how is your body organized when you don't feel safe, don't feel secure, when you feel threatened through something? This is one thing. And the second thing is, play a little bit with this axis and try to connect them to the question of safety for you. 10 minutes, okay, Frauke?
You asked this question to us as trainer?
As you as trainer, educator. Just you as educator, okay?
Thank you.
Or if you don't have any, but all of you have some education contacts, contexts. If you don't have, then take it as a student. But if you have, please take it as a trainer. Okay? Karen, 10 minutes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Okay. Are we complete? Yes. Okay, guys. So I'm curious to hear. Maybe somebody wants to comment something or to report.
Yeah, I can go first if you like.
Yes, I like.
I was talking with Alex about my experience of training so far has generally been training people who want to be there, who are interested in the subject matter, which makes it a lot
lucky you.
Yeah, I know. It makes it a lot easier for the trainer, clearly. And I'm actually coaching somebody else who's a trainer now, who one of their big issues is that they really struggle to work with people who don't want to be there, who've been sent and aren't interested in the subject matter.
Okay.
And then we got onto the subject of how you could potentially contract for that. And I think it's quite an interesting conversation we had, because we spoke about the different types of contracting, and we spoke about the psychological contracting. We don't really build that into the trainer's needs when we contract with a group, when we're training, and certainly in the environment where I train in policing and where Alex trained in the military, it's certainly not something that we do, and will be really, really difficult, I think, for learners to understand and receive. It will be okay if you're teaching people who already understood TA, but not necessarily for people who didn't. So we're wondering how we can overcome that, and we didn't really work that through, but it's something that we would definitely think about.
Okay, contract is definitely also the topic which is connected with safety and security, but we are not going definitely to deepen this this topic of contracting in the educational field, and how explicit we talk about the psychological level. This is an interesting thing, but it's contracting is definitely one, let's say, method of also trying to take care of the safety and security. Thank you. And others? Somebody else?
When I try to pick up what comes up first for me out of those levels of what is strongly connected with security, it was quite difficult to pick one. And I was what came to my mind was when things are going really well, there's a fluidity between them, and so being able to dance between our similarities and our differences and appreciate them, and that equality of opportunities to impact each other, and then affection, giving and receiving affection in different ways and in different amounts at different times of what's appropriate at that stage.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's the kind of a harmony that all of them somehow play in some kind of accordion. Yeah, it's
funny you say that, because the word that actually fell out of my mouth was symphony.
Okay. Yes. You explained it like this, so that we had to think of music. Okay. Okay. More?
I would just like to say that for me it's about structure, and so when I'm going to be training, I try to put the structure in place as best I can before I start, so that I'm then free to just be. I don't have to worry about noise or interruption or comfort or what's going to happen. I can focus on the group and on what I'm trying to teach them, and I also find security in encouraging participation from my students.
Okay.
So my groups are very active. You know, there's a lot of discussion and sharing and stuff. You know, I don't enjoy standing up and lecturing.
Okay.
I don't find that to be a very, it doesn't make me feel secure.
Very good. Thank you. If you don't mind, I would like, because we have just 2 minutes more, I would like to show something in connection to this, what Sharon also said, the methods which makes us, what we have to look at to feel secure. Is it okay? I would like to share, to show you this, and I have to share my thing. Please. Can you see this? Okay. So there are some things which I collected. How can we prepare ourselves to be happy? This is what she said, Sharon. So how does she prepare herself to be the best in the situation of the teaching? The first thing, what I think is obviously content, and how much of content did I choose the right thing. For example, today I had to choose just few things. If you have 2 hours, so you have to make the choice and not to put too much. This is something which makes us totally insecure if you have to run through the things. The second thing is what we also said, it's methods. Are the methodologies safe? I want to tell you, when people are doing TSTA exam, I have been many times on this in audience, I was really surprised how I don't know how to say, how they forget to think about their safety. They have unsafe methods. There are definitely methodology which is safe. It can be boring, but safe. For example, PowerPoint, yeah? Not many things can happen in a PowerPoint. I don't say that we have to use all of the time PowerPoint, but there are definitely various levels of safety in the methodology. If I go into the group process, I don't know, sometimes will it take half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. I'm not the captain of the dynamic. I'm just a part. And it can be, in some situation, it can give us more safety, and in another one, it will give us more stress. For example, why I'm talking about TSTA is because these people have 20 minutes and they start sometimes crazy processes for myself, and they cannot contain it in these 20 minutes. Okay, so are the methods I'm using safe or not for the subject and for the group? Then we have the teaching style. Trudy Newton's essays about different kind of teaching. I would like just to invite you to read this, and you can have a very different styles of teaching. For example, Sharon said also, I can teach it, or I can let the people explore, and why would I do this, and why would I do that, and what does do to me. This has all the kind of also psychological things with my relational needs and so on, my impact and so on. So I have to see what is the proper teaching style for me for this situation. Then the next thing is length of the exercises. Are they, for example, do they fit my needs? Do they fit also my need for control, for impact? Can I give an exercise of an hour and let the people do something, or how long are my exercises. Okay, social form. I can choose between plenum, so plenary, that I have the direct contact to everybody, and the kind also of a control. Or I can have twos, or I can have fours, or I can have eights, or I can have the growing groups. So all the social forms are also decide about many things. And also it can decide about my own safety and about the safety of the participants. So there is also, for example, if we do even a lecture on the huge conference, if we split, if we tell people just go in pairs and talk about this and this and this, how will they, we can also take care of our own security and feeling safe if people are active or not active, and how are they active, and in what kind of social form. And the last thing is the form of feedback, what I want to say. There are so many different kinds of feedback, and this is also what Beatrice, Frauke said. I'm asking for strokes. So this can be also a kind of feedback. I can always, I can have 10 times in a day a feedback on some way or another. How much do I need? What do I want to, do I want to hear? And all this is all these things. For example, the form of feedback can be also a very big help for me in having my safety and organizing my safety. In this
Nevenka?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I really have to leave because I have to be in the car at 12:15.
Okay.
So
can
we close?
Ready, yes, we are closing. I just wanted to put this, and I want to tell you, if you want to have an article about all this, please email me. I'm going to send it to you personally.
Because I was thinking that in these things that you say, it would be nice to say something about the webinar to you and how we have experienced it. But the time is so short now.
So maybe you can say one sentence before you leave.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I really love the way that you have divided in teaching and talking through things, and the exercises that we did in the groups. I really like that. It made it very much land, and it made me think about different aspects of being a student and being a teacher.
Okay,
so thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, on to the others. I am aware that we are over the time, and I would just, I wanted to give you these ideas about taking care of yourself in this way, using also relational need to feel safe and to be a happy educator. And as I told you, please do write to me if you want this article. And now I would like to hear maybe one sentence from you. What was useful for you? Or maybe a stroke?
Nevenka, if you stop sharing your screen, it'll be nice for us all to see each other.
Yes, yes.
The feel of each other.
Can't you do this for me? No, I will do it somehow. I don't know how. Okay, good. So thank you. So this was my part. So I would like you to give comment. What can you use something or to give some kind of feedback, please?
Well, I like the way you've brought this up, and it made me aware of my own relational needs. That's something I take with me. And I like you as role model. So thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Good.
Nevenka, the webinar really got me thinking. So I think it is certainly effective there. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't come from an environment in terms of training where the trainer's needs are openly discussed with the participants of the group. And so it's given me a lot of food for thought about how that's happened in a training environment, as well as for doing it in a coaching context. And a stroke for you, I've really enjoyed your energy and lightness and humor. So I think that you did model the Happy Educator very well.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Lucky I am. Okay.
I don't know if it was luck.
This would be very bad. I thought, oh my God, this topic, and then I sit here cryingly wouldn't be good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, to add on to that, Alex stroke, Nevenka, I've really appreciated the way it's the first time you've worked in this environment online, and you've just been so open with negotiating. What do you need? How's it going to work? You've been very present and robust, and that's been very, very engaging. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it, Nevenka. I think the bit that I'm going to take away is my relational needs. It's not something I'd properly considered before as a trainer, and it's something I definitely will now as I move into that role more. And I'd just like to echo the other comments, really. It's a really easy style to work with you, and I've really enjoyed it and got a lot from it, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Andrew. You can't leave without saying anything.
I feel like I can never leave without saying anything. Yeah, Nevenka, I want to echo what everybody has said. I loved this time that you held with us, and getting us to, well, at least getting me, and I saw everybody else, I think, doing it as well, dancing between our different roles, being in an educator role and also being in a student role, and being able to see these different positions and how the needs shift from one place to the other, and how to work with them, and especially to highlight the role modeling as a happy educator. It was lovely to be with you. Feels like we're in one room. And not scattered around the world. So I want to thank you for that. And swapping hats quickly, putting an SATAA hat on. Want to really thank you for your time and really coming into this space so happily and courageously. Karen said it was your first time using this, and it was seamless. It was effortless. So thank you for journeying with us on that.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure working with you, and it was nice. I like these webinars, although it's very scary, but one has to, since we are not in pension, we have to deal with this, and it's really a good possibility. I enjoyed it a lot. Hopefully we'll see each other again, guys.